O ja, ons maak brandewyn. Hello and welcome back to another Beaver DIY day. First up, just want to thank everybody for the support on the channel thus far. The response has been great, and all your likes and comments and suggestions, everything is greatly appreciated. I really do enjoy communicating and talking to everybody on the channel, so please keep it coming. And yeah, remember, if you're new here and you like some of the content, hit that subscribe button or just pop a comment down in the description. Cool. Next up, thank you very much for everybody that entered the parrot competition. Congratulations to the 2 winners. I will link their names down in the description. Fall Boy, you're one of them. You haven't gotten in contact with me. And then Andre, you have gotten in contact with me, so your parrot will be sent out soon, or maybe by the time this video comes out you will already have your parrot. Okay, cool. Next up, probably the most requested recipe or the requested product is our Brandewyn or Brandy. In South Africa we call it Brandewyn, which loosely translates or comes from the German word that I will probably be horribly mispronounced now, but Brandewyn, okay, meaning burnt wine or distilled wine. So what we're doing is we're making a wine, and we're going to be using traditional wine products in the form of grapes. So the grapes we'll be using, raisins, and then some grape juice. So why raisins and why grape juice? 2 reasons. Number 1, it's easy to come by, and number 2, it's available all year round. So where grapes is a very seasonal thing, unless you want to pay big bucks for your fresh grapes. If you can get a hold of fresh grapes, yes, you can go ahead and use fresh grapes. They will work a treat. For me, getting a hold of that much grapes and or juice and or raisins, it's just going to cost too much. So the recipe I'll be using will give you huge flavor and be kind in the pocket as well. So first up, let's start with the recipe. The recipe calls for raisins and grape juice. But before we get to the process of making it, if you want to check the full recipe, just check down in the description. The exact recipe is there. If you want to try and make your own recipes, check out this video that I'll link up top here, where I explain the process of developing your own recipes. So yeah, first up, before we start the whole process, I just want to start hydrating my yeast. So as always, I'm doing the double combo, which will be a packet of bread yeast and a packet of brewer's yeast. Add it in and getting hydrated while I do the rest of my processes. And as always, everything is clean and sanitized. Okay, so with our yeast in and ready hydrating, quick update on our Umkombuti whiskey. This is the Umkombuti whiskey. I've now aged it for a week and a half now. It has 2 wood staves in here. It's the Korea wood staves that I got from Prohibition, and yeah. So one is just straight wood stave. The other one, I took a blowtorch to it and I got it all blackened and added into the bottle. It has now changed the color quite nicely and quite awesome on the taste as well. Cool. Next up, time to get our raisins prepared. So what I'm going to be doing with the raisins is I will be adding them into a pot, adding water on top of it and letting it boil for about an hour to allow these raisins to rehydrate, number 1, and also to get access to all of those sugars. So let's get into doing that. Okay, so with all the raisins in the pot now, time to add our sugar, turn up the heat and get that cooking, allowing our raisins to rehydrate and our sugar to get dissolved. So let's get into that. Okay, so the raisins and the sugar has been added. What I'm going to do now is keep on stirring that until the sugar is all dissolved. Then what I'll do is I'll leave it for an hour on a nice simmer. Not a rolling boil, but just a nice simmer, allowing those raisins and the sugar and everything to get nice and incorporated. And then yeah, see you guys back in an hour. Okay, so it has now been an hour. We allowed our raisins and our sugar to cook and get all nice and rehydrated and juicy. So the raisins have started plumping up again, and most of their sugars and stuff have cooked out. So next up, what we need to do is we're going to blend up our raisins. So by blending the raisins, what we're going to do is we're going to allow all those sugars and all those flavors to be pushed out, and then allow us to get as much of that flavor out as possible. So all I'm going to do now is transfer batch by batch into my blender, get it all blended up, and then add it to my bucket. Then on to the next step. So let's get blending. Okay, first soupy batch of raisin juice done. Now I just repeat the process up until everything in the pot is blended up and in your fermentation bucket. Okay, so with all of that blended up, next up is the juice. I'm just going to add some juice so I can get all the last little bits of sugar and stuff out of this blender. So I'm going to add the juice to here, just swirl it around quickly and then add it to my fermenter. The juice I'll be using is a 50% red grape nectar. So all you want to look for on the side of the jar or the box is it says reconstituted grape concentrate, meaning it's from actual grapes, and then make sure there is no preservatives added to it whatsoever. So if you can't get the real McCoy of 100% grape juice or that, the reconstituted grape concentrate will be perfectly fine. So that is 4 liters of juice that's going into our fermenter. Okay, so now with the juice added, our blended raisin mix added, and our sugar all added and dissolved in, all we need to do now is top it off with some cold water and get it to pitch temp. So let's get into that. Okay, so as always, remember to keep everything nice and clean. At this point where your temperature is nice and low, just make sure you try not to introduce any foreign bacteria or yeast or anything like that. So open time, keep it to a minimum. If you're anything's gonna touch the wash or whatever is that's in the bucket, make sure that you just give it a quick spritz with your sterilizing liquid. Okay, I'll be adding the juice of 1 lemon just to get that pH down, and as always try not to get the pips in. The pips will add bitterness to it. Okay, so why the lemon? The lemon is not there for flavor, it's just to bring the pH of my water down, of my whole wash down, so the yeast has a better chance of dominating the wash and no other bacteria can get involved in making of your brew. So give it a quick stir again. Test your temperature. Okay, so right on the money on 26 degrees. Quickly test our specific gravity of the wash to ensure that we have enough sugar in there to do the ferment. Okay, so let's quickly test our specific gravity. You do not have to do this. If you want to do it and you don't own a hydrometer, I'll link a video up top where I made my own hydrometers. So on this hydrometer we have a reading of exactly 1070 with the temperature slightly higher than 26 degrees. It means it's a bit thinner than higher than 20 degrees. It means it's a bit thinner than your 20 degrees calibration, so we'll be ballparking it up to about a 1080. And then let's test our homemade hydrometer. That's an alcometer, that won't help. Let's test our homemade. And sitting on the dot of 1070. Okay, between 1060 1070, so it's out by about 0.5 of a gravity point, so it's pretty accurate. Let's get this back into the wash. Give it one last proper stir to incorporate oxygen, and then all we're going to do is pitch our yeast. Our yeast has been rehydrating now for an hour, hour and a half. Just normal sugar, water, and my 2 packets of yeast. That goes into my wash like that. Don't worry about all the excess foam or anything like that. There's more than enough yeast to get this kicked off. Next up, all we're going to do is we're going to put our lid on, wrap our blanket around it, and get it to start fermenting. As always, thank you very much. Have a lucky day, and remember, like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, if you want to see any more recipes or you want to suggest any recipes for me to try, please go ahead, pop it down in the comments and I'll give your recipes a try. Thank you very much. Have a lucky day.